Hey, what's up guys? This is Jedith, and as you may have noticed, Alpha is upon us. Invites have gone out. You may have saw my video earlier today, letting you guys know that Alpha is here and all of us are inside. We're able to test things. We're able to play the new expansion, play Evoker, and yeah, so we're going to look at some stuff today. I want to show you a sneak preview at some of the new dungeons coming in Dragonflight. Now, not all the information is available right now, but we will be able to look at some things. We have all the dungeon names, kind of the themes of them, what the bosses are, and there is some loot we can look at too. But before we get into it, I just want to remind you guys that I am doing a giveaway for an epic edition of Dragonflight, and this giveaway is going on for the entirety of the month. We'll be picking a winner at the end of the month. All you have to do to enter is leave a comment on any of my videos, preferably some of the newer ones, and just make sure you're subbed to the YouTube channel. Make sure you're subbed with the bell on, and that's all you need to do. So if you haven't pre-ordered Dragonflight yet, this is a great opportunity for you to get it for free. If you aren't aware, also, the Epic Edition comes with 30 days of game time, the Wings of Awakening backslot transmog in 5 color variants, the Tangled Dreamweaver mount, the Time Walker's Hearthstone, the Diadem of the Spellkeeper head slot transmog, the Drax pet, and the Mercastraza pet, and of course, a level 60 character boost, and the expansion itself. So if you want to get all of that for free, just make sure you leave a comment on a video, on this video, on my last video, whatever one you liked, leave a comment, make sure you're subbed to the channel, and that's it. I'll be picking the winner at the end of the month. And yeah, let's go ahead and look at some of these dungeons. So this is, before I just open the dungeon journal, this is a area in the expansion, and this is me on my Evoker. It's pretty sweet. I won't show too much of this to you right now, as much as I want to, as excited about it as I am. We have to stay on track with this video. We're going to look at dungeons. So here are the names of all the dungeons. This is what we have. So we got Bracken Hollow, Halls of Infusion, Neltharus, Ruby Life Pools, Geth Academy, the Azure Vault, the Nokhud Offensive, and Alderman, the Legacy of Tira. So I think some of these assets here are just placeholder. You'll notice that like the Azure Vault background image is the Nexus. The Nokhud Offensive is Wailing Caverns. Halls of Infusion is probably Halls of Lightning or something like that. Halls of Stone. What else we got here? Neltharus, I think, is one of those other dungeons from Cataclysm. Bracken Hollow might be completely original. I'm not sure if I've seen this before. It does kind of look like maybe one of those troll dungeons. That might be brand new. Ruby Life Pools looks like this is probably been used before. That looks like the Well of Eternity. So I think all of these assets are just kind of placeholders. And but yeah, these are the dungeons. So on top of this, there are also going to be 2 other dungeons for Mythic Plus. It's going to be Temple of the Jade Serpent from Mists of Pandaria, and of course Court of Stars. Court of Stars is, you know, one of the most notable fan favorite dungeons from Legion because it was so innovative in the way that it worked. So really excited to see that one come back. And of course, Temple of the Jade Serpent is not sure about that one. I mean, it's pretty simple. I can't really think of anything that I love in that dungeon. Maybe other people have an opinion. Let me know what you think about Temple of the Jade Serpent from Mop in the comments. But let's start diving into these dungeons. The first one we'll look at is Bracken Hollow. And I do believe this dungeon is part of this zone, the Azure Span. I think it happens somewhere up here in the top left corner of the map somewhere. And it's essentially the Knoll dungeon, right? So there's 3 bosses. There could potentially be more bosses coming into this, but as of right now, there's only 3 for us to see. There's Hackclaw's Warband. This is, of course, a council fight. We got a Warrior Knoll, a Shaman Knoll, and a Rogue Knoll. No idea about the mechanics. We could look into it, but I'm really bad at reading things and analyzing them just from words. So this is more so just like a quick preview, right? And chances are a lot of this will get changed too once we get in there and start testing it. But we can see the models These are the new Knoll models. And yeah, that's the council fight. Then there's Treemouth. This guy looks pretty interesting. Pretty unique model. I really like how he has all like the foliage growing out of him. And some mushrooms on his butt. Very cool. And then there's going to be slimes that spawn. The third boss is the Katriarch Wrath Eye. This is, you know, another Knoll. Not much to say about him. And yeah, there is some loot in the dungeon journal already. There's a trinket, an intellect trinket. Let me just make sure I'm looking at all the classes. Yep. So obviously, like, I have it filtered to all classes right now, and this is the only loot that's coming up right now, right? So clearly the loot tables aren't completely populated yet, but there are some things in here. Pretty cool. Yeah. So again, this is only the first day of alpha, so all of this is going to get updated. Let's look at the next dungeon, Halls of Infusion. There's nothing to look at here. Unfortunately, there's no information for this one yet. No idea what to expect here. I guess time will tell. The next one is Neltharus. And this one, I believe, is going to be more of like the Black Dragonflight themed dungeon. The first boss is Chargath, Bane of Scales. And he is a beefy boy. Yeah, this is a new race of, I guess, villains or enemies in this expansion. I believe they're called the Dajaran or something like that. But yeah, that's the first boss. Then we got the Scorching Forge. Seems to be another guy. Another Jaran with Ignaris Forge Awakened. My prediction for this fight is it will probably be like Blast Furnace from WoD? No. WoD? I can't remember. Yeah, WoD. I have a feeling it might be like that. Which is interesting. You know, some people like it. Some people didn't like that fight, but it's unique. So we shall see. The next boss is Magma Tusk. Now, this is a new model as well. This is a mammoth with a lava snout and some lava legs. I believe you are able to get this as a mount as well from somewhere. Not sure where. But Wowhead did put out some previews today of all the new mounts that you can get. And I believe this was one of them. So that's that fight, Magma Tusk. Then we got Warlord Saga. Again, this is another Dajaran, except this one is a lady. We can only assume, right? But who knows? And yeah, that is Neltharus. One thing to note that isn't really like completely relevant to Demon Hunter, if you're playing Demon Hunter, but this is just kind of a neat little thing to point out, that this dungeon does have a special weapon. It is a one-handed mace, and it has a proc effect. Your attacks have a chance to ignite Forge Storm for 12 seconds, causing your attacks to sometimes explode for an additional 1600 fire damage split between all nearby enemies. Damage is increased for each enemy struck up to 5 enemies. Now, unfortunately, we won't be able to use this as Demon Hunters, but everyone else can. Lucky them. Yeah. Must be nice. Let's move on to Ruby Life Pools. Now, this one is... We got this boss, Meladrusa Chillworn. Just your typical night elf. Don't know what to make of her or what she does or what her problem is, but we're going to kill her, assumingly. Kokia Blazehoof. Now, this is a Tauren. And there is a fire elemental part of that fight as well. That's about as much as we know. And then Kairaka and Urquhart Stormvane. This is one of the new dragon models. It looks super cool. I really like the new sort of face they used on this dragon. He's got like the biggest underbite that I have ever seen in my life. He will chomp you to bits. So yeah, that's a pretty cool dragon model. And then this troll. I'm hoping the troll rides the dragon. That would be pretty sweet. So that's Ruby Life Pools. Not much to say else about this one. It's one of the dungeons that doesn't have too much info in it yet. Geth Academy. The interesting thing about this one is it used the art assets for Skyreach. And funnily enough, the boss, there's only one boss here. I'm thinking there will probably be more. We've never had a one boss dungeon. So Croth, and guess what? This model is a bird. So we have the Skyreach assets in the background. We have a bird. I'm really hoping it has no similarity to the bird from the Skyreach dungeon, because that would be unfortunate. Wait, I just read something real quick. Let me just go back here. Scoring goals during play ball yields massive benefits for the party. Play ball. The goal of the pitch activates. The goals of the pitch activate, allowing players to score goals in either the fire goal or wind goal, triggering their associated effects. Be wary of the knockback from overpowering gust. Casting during deafening screech will result in a silence. Croth has taken roost on the pitch. Take her out. Oh no. Oh no, another soccer boss. Another soccer boss. NA is going to hate themselves. Oh boy. Anyways, moving on. The Azure Vault. Again, only one boss in this one. Now, like I said, it is showing the Nexus art asset in the background. And of course, we have an Earth LE type of thing. Now, there was a boss like this in the Nexus, I believe. Not the exact same model, but, you know, something like this. So that does make sense to me. Again, I'm assuming there's going to be more than just one boss per dungeon. They've never done that before. As far as I know, we've never had a one-boss dungeon. So, we'll see. Any notable loot in here? There is a polearm for all your survival hunters. Trinket. And, yeah. Moving on, the Knock-Hud Offensive. First boss is Granith. This is another new dragon model. This one is kind of a white, beige, tan color. Very cool. Next boss is the Raging Tempest. This is a new wind elemental model. Kind of reminds me of Murmur. Do you guys remember Murmur from that one dungeon in the Burning Crusade? Kind of reminds me of that. The third boss is Tira and Maruk. These are the new Centaur models. They look pretty cool. They are definitely a huge upgrade from the old Centaur models from Classic. They've really come a long way. So, and funnily enough, you know, they're in Wailing Caverns, and Wailing Caverns, from what I remember, was a dungeon with centaurs. So, Balakar Khan is the final boss of this dungeon. Again, just another centaur model, except he has a mohawk. Kind of looks like Mr. T. He really does. And then we got Knock-Hud Stormcaster. This is another centaur. This one's wearing a hat. He's got a cool hat. And yeah. On to the last dungeon, Alderman Legacy of Tyr. So some of these bosses are similar to the old bosses in Alderman. I think maybe the only similar one is the Lost Dwarves. And you may remember fighting this one. I think you can only fight it if you were Horde. I may be mistaken. But, yeah, there's Balog, Eric the Swift, and Olaf. I remember in Classic, people would farm this boss for something in particular. I can't quite remember what it was. Let's see if it's on the loot table here. Nothing notable that I can see. A shield, Treads of the Swift, a trinket. Let's see what this does. Homeland Raid Horn. Call on the Lost Dwarves to rain down cannon fire at your location, dealing medium fire damage every second to all enemies in the area for 8 seconds. While standing in the barrage, your attacks have a chance to deal an additional small fire damage. Interesting. That could be really good. I could get into that one. So that's the Lost Dwarves. Then we got Bromok. This is a... What were these guys called? I can't remember. They're definitely not trolls. Trogs? Were they Trogs? Stone Vault Ambusher, Stone Vault Geomancer, and then Bromok. Sentinel Talandras. Is this a Sethrak? What are the Sethrak doing in there? Interesting. Interesting. The next boss is Emberon. This is a Golem. I believe this is an updated model of the Golem as well. I could be wrong. And then the most interesting boss of all, Chronoloord Deos. So the Infinite Dragonflight is in Uldaman doing something very suspicious. Very suspicious. So, yeah, those are the dungeons that we have as of right now, guys. Now, do remember, when it comes to Mythic Plus, Blizzard's plan this time around for the first season of Dragonflight is that 4 of these will be available for Mythic Plus, and then the other half is going to be older dungeons that they're just kind of repurposing for Mythic Plus. So you're going to have half new dungeons and half older ones. And the idea behind that is that when new seasons come around, there's enough of a change in the dungeon pool that it feels fresh. So you don't feel like you're just farming the same dungeons over and over and over to get the same items at just a higher item level, right? So the dungeons you have access to in Season 1 are going to be completely different from the dungeons you have access to in Season 2. Which has some pros and cons, right? Like, the con is definitely that some of those strategies for those dungeons take time to develop, right? There's still things that I'm learning about Mythic Plus dungeons in Shadowlands 2 years later, right? Like, there's things people are discovering, optimizations that they're kind of discovering and putting together 2 years later. So some of that stuff might not get the opportunity to come to the surface if dungeons are being swapped out so quickly. On the other hand, like I said, it does sort of mitigate the burnout and the shitty feeling of having to farm the same dungeons season in, season and season out, like just the same dungeons, getting the same loot for this, just a higher item level. So I think it's going to come down to however you feel about it personally. And again, that's something that you can let us know in the comments. Love to hear how you're standing on that, because a lot of people are torn, and I think that's going to be a discussion that Blizzard is open to having with the community going forward, because they are, in a position where they kind of need to listen to the community. They need to listen to us and make the changes that are going to keep us happy, because they can't really afford to lose us. So that being said, guys, I'm going to end this video. Again, if you haven't entered the giveaway for the Epic Edition of Dragonflight, all you have to do is leave a comment on this video or any of my other videos, and make sure you are subbed to the YouTube channel with the bell notification on. That's all you have to do, and I will be picking a winner at the end of the month. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.